The sun hung high over the dusty town of Redstone, casting long shadows across the wooden facades of the shops and the town hall. Yet no warmth reached the woman struggling against the ropes that bound her wrists. Lila Hart, once known for her quiet grace and gentle kindness, now found herself the target of a merciless, whispering crowd. Her long hair, the color of autumn wheat, was disheveled, and her dress, once pristine and pale, was torn and muddied from the rough treatment. She had been accused of a crime she did not commit, a crime that had nothing to do with theft, betrayal, or violence, but with the cruel and petty judgments of a small-minded town being infertile. The town elders, their faces etched with self-righteous disdain, had declared her cursed and unworthy of respect. Mothers shook their heads at her, whispering venomous warnings to their children, while men spat on the ground near her feet, convinced her condition reflected some moral failing. As the rope tightened around her wrists, Lila's heart pounded with both fear and indignation. She had never harmed anyone. She had never failed to care nor shirked any duty. And yet here she was, dragged by rough hands, through the very square where she had spent her happiest days as a child, playing under the fountain with the other townsfolk, running errands for neighbors, and sharing smiles with strangers who now turned their eyes away. The town crier shouted accusations to the gathering crowd, his voice booming over the clatter of horse hooves and the murmuring people. "Look upon her," he bellowed. "This woman has failed nature herself. She cannot give life, and therefore she is a disgrace to Redstone." The crowd surged closer, some jeering, some gawking, and Lila's legs scraped against the coarse cobblestones. Tears pricked her eyes, not just from pain, but from the humiliation of betrayal. She had thought, Redstone was her home, that its people had hearts capable of compassion, yet now she realized that fear and ignorance were the stronger forces here. Mothers pulled their children away, muttering prayers to shield their little ones from the shame of seeing a woman punished for a condition she had no control over. Lila's mind raced, trying to remember every quiet act of kindness she had offered over the years, every loaf of bread shared, every word of comfort whispered to the lonely, hoping against hope that someone, anyone, would speak in her defense. Then she felt a strange shift in the air, a ripple of something unfamiliar, something foreign to Redstone. From the hills on the town's outskirts, a figure emerged, moving steadily down the winding paths toward the square. His silhouette was broad and muscular, his clothes rugged but functional, the kind that spoke of survival in the wilderness rather than city life. He carried a length of rope slung across his shoulder, but there was no malice in his stride. The townsfolk barely noticed him at first, too focused on Lila's disgrace. But as he drew closer, a few children pointed, whispering in awe about the mountain man who had come from the peaks beyond the valley. Lila, bound and bruised, caught sight of him, and something stirred deep in her chest, a faint glimmer of hope, fragile but persistent. The mountain man, whose name she would later learn was Elias, did not hesitate. He strode into the center of the square, where the ropes that had humiliated her twisted like serpents in the dust. "Stop this madness!" he roared, his voice echoing off the wooden walls and sending a shiver through the crowd. His eyes, clear and piercing, met hers for a brief electric moment, and Lila felt as if the universe itself had taken sides. The townsfolk, initially defiant, faltered under his gaze, and the hands that had been pulling her forward loosened slightly, uncertain. Elias did not wait for permission or polite acknowledgement. He dropped to his knees beside her and swiftly cut through the ropes with a sharp knife he had carried tucked into his belt. The rope fell away like chains, dissolving into dust, and Lila sank to her knees, overwhelmed by the sudden relief and the inexplicable surge of courage that now flowed through her. For the first time in what felt like an eternity, she could breathe freely, her wrists no longer burning from the cruel bonds. The crowd whispered, first in confusion, then in astonishment, as Elias lifted her gently to her feet, his hands steady and protective. "You are not cursed," Elias said, his voice calm but firm. "You are not to be punished for what you cannot control. Redstone, learn this now. A person's worth is not measured by children, by wealth, or by convenience. It is measured by the strength of their heart, the courage of their spirit, and the kindness they offer to the world." A tense silence followed, The town elders, flushed with embarrassment and rage, tried to speak to reclaim their authority, but their words fell flat against the resolute power in Elias's stance. He did not threaten them. He did not raise his voice again. His presence alone, his unwavering assertion of justice, caused the crowd to reconsider the cruelty they had sanctioned. Mothers clutched their children closer, and even some of the men lowered their heads, ashamed of their participation. Lila, still trembling, found her voice. "I have done nothing wrong," she said, her voice steady despite the tears running down her cheeks. "I am human. I have loved, I have given, I have tried. I will not be shamed for that which I cannot change." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others looking away, unable to meet the defiance in her eyes. Elias offered her his arm, a quiet symbol of protection, and together they walked to the edge of the square. As they moved away from the center of Redstone, whispers of her courage began to spread. "She is brave," some said. "Perhaps we judged her too harshly," others muttered. And though not everyone admitted it, a seed of change had been planted. Lila, once broken and humiliated, now felt a fire ignite within her, a determination to reclaim her life and her dignity, no longer defined by the narrow judgments of the ignorant, but by her own strength. Elias stayed by her side, not as a savior demanding gratitude, but as a man who understood the purity of standing against injustice. "You are stronger than you know," he said simply. "And this town will remember that." Lila's gaze lingered on the mountain beyond the horizon, the place Elias called home. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to imagine a future where she was not a prisoner of shame but a woman free to live, to love in ways she chose, and to rise above the scorn of others. And as the sun dipped lower, casting golden hues across the square, she felt the whisper of hope, the knowledge that no matter how harsh the world might be, courage and kindness could never be chained. The townsfolk watched her leave, some with respect, some with lingering disdain, but none could deny the transformation that had taken place in that moment. Lila had been dragged through the mud and humiliation, yet she walked away with her head held high, her heart unbroken and a fierce light in her eyes. And though the mountain man disappeared into the hills as quietly as he had come, the memory of his intervention lingered, a symbol of defiance, hope, and the reminder that even in the darkest of times, there would always be those who stood against injustice. And for you watching this story unfold, if you want to witness the full journey of Lila's triumph, the revelations of the townsfolk, and the secrets that Elias hides in the mountains, make sure you hit that subscribe button now. Don't miss the next chapter of courage. Love and unexpected heroes, it's coming. And it's going to change everything you thought you knew about Redstone and the people who dwell there.